Welcome to the experience. Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the journey. A movement. This is Ridealong Live, where everyone has a story to tell.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Come on in. Come on in. How are you today? How are you? Come on in. Lydia James, you're always my first. I love it. Come on in. Good afternoon, everyone. As you come in, go ahead, like and share. Like and share. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Tamika Rogers. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Hello, Miss Lydia. Hello, Tamika. As you come in, like and share. Nobody can hold me. This is one of my favorite songs. As you come in, go ahead, like and share. It's Wednesday. Strength, no weakness. Hey, Tamika Rogers, how are you? Thank you, Miss Lydia. Thank you, Doris. Let me know where you guys are sharing from. As you come in, don't only say you share, but let me know where you're sharing from. Any mess of my struggle, but when you roll. Remember, I won the dance contest a while back with Junior, so I got my rhythm today. Hey, Miss Patricia. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Wednesday. I am Attorney Deani Winter Funday, and it is Wednesday Fun Day. Hey, Jocelyn. Hey, Forrester. How are you? Hey, Doris. It's like a link up every Wednesday. I gotta have my peeps with me every Wednesday. Hey, Miss Fraser. Sharing from Connecticut. How's the weather up there? Is it cold yet? Who is locked in Orlando? Oh, my Lord. My neighbor, Tampa. I see Brooklyn in the house. I see New York City. Fitness Francois. No, anybody from Jamaica this evening? Where are my Grenadians at? Where are my people from Grenada? As you come in, like and share. We have a really good show lined up today. And we have Amazon gift cards. So we do have a couple of Amazon gift cards that we are going to give away. But you have to be here in order to get it. It's 6:04 on a Wednesday. And this is Immigration Now. As you know, every Wednesday, we talk about what's going on in the immigration world, and we talk about topics that affect our Caribbean community. Today is no different. So, Dion, you're saying Connecticut is kind of cold. Stay warm. Thanks, Grenada, for sharing. Trinidad and Tobago, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. So I was seeing some good news, and my Grenadians can tell me, I see Grenada is reopening. I was watching the news briefing. Thanks, Patricia, for sharing to people in Jamaica. I was watching the news briefing, and I see where Grenada is reopening. I imagine that must be some good news. So all my Grenadians, you can now travel to Grenada. They do have some categories based on whether you're coming from a green zone country. I don't know if anybody else saw the briefing where Grenadians are free to travel home. I mean, that is amazing, amazing news. Lydia says you should get one for being first always. Well, Lydia, you never know, you just might, because you're always first and you're always sharing and you're always participating. So we love that about you, Lydia. We love that. Thanks for always being a loyal fan. One thing I know, if I come on here on a Wednesday and nobody else don't join me, I know Miss Lydia will be sitting there. Me and her will be talking about immigration. So thank you all. Hermelyn Mary Show, how are you, my love? This show, Hermelyn, I know you won't be a part of it, but we're going to talk about green cards for women. or men that are being abused a little bit later, like what are their options? So that's what we're going to touch on today. And we also have a quiz lined up, and that's how you are going to win your Amazon gift card, but you have to stay around to win your gift card. I see my top 5 crew in the house. I feel so honored when my top 5 crew joins in. All right, I'm talking too much. Let's get started. First, I must give our apologies for our host. Mr. George Jr. is not here with us today. He has a conflict and he sends his apologies. And he said, everybody should be nice and kind to me because he won't be here today. So it'll just be me today, but Junior will not be joining us today. So if you see one person, just know he sends his apologies. Thanks, love, for my busy necklace, All right, so Grenada is opening. Grenada has reopened. Jamaica has reopened. So for all my individuals, we spent a lot of time at the beginning of Corona talking about individuals who were in the United States on a visitor's visa. And you had filed your extension. So a lot of the questions I'm getting now is, okay, I filed the extension. I haven't gotten a response yet, but Grenada is open and I'm ready to go home. First of all, always consult with an immigration attorney before you do anything. If you plan on departing, make sure you have your receipt notice for your I-589. So remember we talked about the application you would have filed to extend your status. If you want to depart before you get an approval, because those extension of statuses are taking a time. So if you plan on departing before you get your extension of status, go ahead, take that receipt notice with you so they can see that Grenada was closed, you file your extension, or Jamaica was closed and you file your extension. For all my green card holders in Grenada and the rest of the Caribbean, Jamaica, you've been there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you're now coming into the red zone of being away from the country for 12 months, it is now time for you to come back because a lot of travel has reopened. My green card holders, you need to come back into the country. You can no longer use COVID as an example because there's a lot of flights coming in and out. So come on back into the country. File that extension or file that re-entry permit, and then you can depart, and then you will have at least 2 years where you can stay outside of the country. So that's what's kind of going on this week with a lot of people calling and saying, can I go? Can I come back? What am I supposed to be doing? On the state side, USCIS is opening. They're processing cases. I won't say they have gone back to normal, but I think a lot of cases, I'm getting a lot of fingerprint notices here in our office. I am getting schedules for interviews. So things are starting to tick up. For all the people, when I gave the advice and I said, even though it's during Corona, to go ahead and file your applications, I am still saying so now. Go ahead and file. Don't let nobody tell you everything is closed because everything has started to reopen. For those of you that are joining us today, we have a fun show. We have some Amazon gift cards that we're going to give away because we're going to ask some questions. And then we're also going to talk about green cards for victims of abuse or violence. So even if you're not a victim, I want you to get your notepad today because you're going to help us. I'm going to give you the message to give to the person that's the victim. All right, does that make sense? So even though you're not the victim, what I want you to do is take notes because you're going to say to someone who is a victim of domestic violence, here are some things that you can do. All right. The first question so you have to write this question down. Don't answer it yet. Just keep the question, keep the answer to yourself. At 6:50, you're going to write that answer in. There's going to be 3 questions that are going to ask be asked throughout the show. And even if you know the answer, don't write it yet. Keep it to yourself because you want to be able to win one of those Amazon gift cards. So here's question number 1. What is the supreme law of the land? What is the supreme law of the land? If you are just joining us, there's no Junior today. There's just me. I'm in charge. I'm the boss lady today. Junior does have a conflict, and so he won't be here today. So I'm going to be holding it down for Junior. Dion says we don't need Junior anymore. I'm not so sure about that yet. I still need Junior to help me through moments like this. So the first question number 1, if you want to get that Amazon gift card, is what is the supreme law of the land? Write that down on a piece of paper because at 6:50, you will have to write the 3 answers to the 3 questions that will be asked throughout the show. All right. So what else is going on in immigration world? What else is going on? We know that the consular posts have reopened. We know that we missed the filing fee. For those of us that were following, you heard us talk over and over and over again about the filing fee. Lo and behold, at the last minute, it was blocked. It was blocked. So the immigration fees have not increased. So that is really good news. However, for all the people that I've been encouraging to file, whether it's your naturalization application or whatever application you were going to file, do not use this fee increase, the blocking or the stopping of the fee increase to not continue with your immigration matter. Please, may I beg you, don't do it. Only because the government and USCIS, they're going to come back again. They're not going to let this slide because they need the money. They need the income. So don't think for a second that you're going to let this slide. Remember, Rosalind, with the questions, hold on to the answers. No need to post the answers yet. You're going to post your answers, all 3, at 6:50. And that first question is, what is the supreme law of the land? That's the first question. All right. So Today we're going to talk about VAWA applications. VAWA applications. Yes, I said not to answer now because you just gave someone your answer, Rosalind. Don't give away your answer. Don't give away your answer yet, please. So we're going to talk about VAWA, Violence Against Women Act. And keep in mind, it's not just for women, it's also for men. But when you think about even VAWA, I want you to think about other categories of visa for individuals that are a victim of the crime, meaning there's some crime involved. VAWA is only one of those visa categories. So if you know somebody who is not married to a United States citizen and they're a victim of a crime, there's a category for that person. If you know somebody who was trafficked into the United States, so you have a minor, 8-year-old, and somebody bring them into the United States, trafficked, you pay a coyote or you pay an auntie, whoever you paid to bring them in the United States. Also keep in mind, there's a category of visa for that person. If you know a minor who was abandoned, so you have a minor who was abandoned here in the United States, they cannot reunite with their parents for whatever reason, and the court has found them to be abandoned, there's also a category of visa for that person. For the purposes of today's show, we're only going to look at one of the 4 categories, and we're going to look at VAWA. I like looking at VAWA because 1, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and 14 and a half years ago, that's where I started out my legal career, was working on VAWA cases. First, I was a domestic violence advocate, and then I moved on into the immigration realm because a lot of women or men who experienced domestic violence were also had some immigration matters going on with them. So before we take a break, I'm going to start with the eligibility, Lord my tongue, eligibility. To be eligible for VAWA, there are 4 things, and I want you to write them down or tag them in your notes and keep that, only because this is such an area that is ripe for fraud. So to be eligible for VAWA, you must there must be a good faith marriage. So you must be married to a United States citizen or a lawful permanent resident. So there has to be some kind of marriage. It can be a same-sex marriage or it can be a heterosexual marriage, but there must be a marriage. There is also the requirement, number 2, that the both of you have lived together. So 1, a marriage, live together. And you might say, but Deanna, we're married. We shouldn't we live together? No, you have couples where they're married. One person lives in Orlando, the other person lives in New York for whatever reason. Maybe it's work or something along those lines, but you must live together. Number 3, good moral character. If you recall, when we were doing the naturalization process, you heard every time we talking about good moral character, good moral character. You remember this song about your reputation? Good moral character is about your reputation. And we'll talk about how we can show that you have good moral character. Also, number 4, there must be battery or extreme cruelty. So battery or extreme cruelty. So 4 things that you must show in order to file a proper VAWA application. 1, you have a good marriage. 2, you and your husband live together, and we're going to talk about what that living together looks like. 3, good moral character. And 4, proving that there was either battery or extreme cruelty. So you must prove all 4, and we are going to talk about that when we come back on the other side of the break. But just remember, number 1, marriage. 2, living together. 3, good moral character. That means you don't have a bad reputation. And 4, there must be extreme cruelty. For those of you that are joining us, we have a good show today. Good show lined up. We're talking about Violence Against Women Act in large part because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. That's what it is. So I think we need to spend the month talking about what options are available for women, for men that are victims of a crime. They're here in the United States illegally, and they're afraid. Somebody threatening them, say them not going to give them the visa. You threaten them, say, mega call immigration. Who's ever heard that before? As if they have some special number for immigration. I wish I had that, so I would be able to call immigration when my clients are suffering and waiting. But those are threats when they say, I'm not going to interview with you, even though you have been married, you've been living together, you have a bona fide marriage, and he or she will say, I'm not going anywhere with you. Those are threats. And the law, believe it or not, immigration law doesn't like that mess. So we're going to take a quick little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about what all of this should look like if you're submitting a VAWA application. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Don't go put on a pot on the stove. Everybody stay right here. We'll be back.
You're constantly thinking of food, but sometimes you just don't want to cook or want something a little different. That's when you call Tasties, preparing meals that you really love. Tasties, our mouth-watering food, would have you coming back every day. But hold on, we only prepare meals Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for now. Call early because we have a lot to serve, and we would love to serve you. Tasties, we prepare the meals you love to eat, from macaroni pie to baked chicken, provision dumpling and saltfish, stewed chicken, curry chicken, baked chicken, rice and peas, salads, and more. Please call for the daily menu. Call 425-0624 or 403-0411. You can pick up your meals from us or we deliver to you. Tasties, food that's delicious.
All right, welcome back. You see how our commercial is nice and short and quick? Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who left to go start dinner and take phone calls, come on back and let's talk about the Violence Against Women Act, green card for victims of a crime, green card for victims of abuse, green card for victims of that you're just tired of it and you've been and you've had enough. You've had enough. I see one question, live together for how long? That's a really good question, Nelia. Before the break, we talked about the 4 things that you must meet in order to qualify for a green card or to complete an application for a green card. There must be a good faith marriage. You must live together. You must have good moral character, and you must prove either extreme cruelty or you must prove battery. Let's break this apart. Let's peel the onion and talk about what this would look like. Let's talk about a good faith marriage. This is the part of the marriage that is just based on documents. The only way we can show good faith marriage, we're not going to take your word for it. So you cannot, when you come into my office, say, well, Miss Diane, you know, we're married 3 years. Here's some things that I'm going to ask you for. I want to see, first and foremost, a marriage license. That's a given. I also want to see some evidence of courtship. So I want to go back a little bit before the marriage. I want to see some evidence of courtship. Did you take any trips together? Did he come to Jamaica? Did he go to Grenada and meet the family? Did she come to Grenada, Jamaica, or Barbados and meet the family? I want to see some evidence of courtship. I want to see who proposed to who. And mind you, guys, when I talk about good faith marriage, it doesn't have to be this wedding that is shown with this big, pretty white dress. It could be as simple as you and this person, the both of you went to City Hall, or the both of you did a justice of a peace in your backyard. That is perfectly fine. That is absolutely fine. It doesn't matter if that is what happened. Okay. Selfies. Absolutely. I love pictures, and we'll print the selfies. So I won't take your cell phone with me to the interview or when it comes to that point. What I'll do is I'll say, in your phone, just go through and make a documentary log about your life using pictures. So you go in and you put, we went to City Island in March of 2018. And then we went to Atlantic City on a church trip in June of 2019. So we're looking at documentary evidence of courtship, and then documentary evidence of a good marriage. And again, I want to see a lease, right? If you own a home, I want to see the mortgage. That can get tricky because sometimes you've purchased the home prior to the marriage. So one spouse had the home prior to the marriage. What I will look for then, give me all the mail that comes to the house. Because if I am married and I live in this home, it is highly likely that my mail is coming to this home. I want to see gas bill. I want to see some joint telephone bills. I want to see joint bank accounts. So I need all of this to show a good faith marriage, which leads me to misconception number 1. A lot of people with VAWA will say, I can't file because I don't have evidence. Certainly, ideally, I would want you to have evidence, but if you don't have evidence, that's not a reason to not file. Because we know in a lot of domestic violence situations or domestic abuse situations, there'll be one person who controls everything. A lot of times it's that US citizen spouse. They'll control everything, so there might not be a bank account. And VAWA is one of those areas that the evidence can be like this, but it still gets us through. It still gets us through. So don't think because I'm saying all of this to show a good faith marriage, if you don't have a lease, if you don't have a bank account, if you don't have joint bills, it's perfectly fine. Because for VAWA, it changes a little bit. The burden is not as high as it is if it were a marriage where there's no abuse. Residing together. Somebody asked how long you have resided together. I want at least 1 or 2 days, at least a week. There must be at some point where the both of you are residing together. What do we know about residing together? I've had individuals say to me, boy, you know, so I live with him for 2 days and he beat me so much I have to leave. That is fine. You have resided together. What I don't want is at no point as husband and wife, you never resided together. I want a couple days. I want a week. I need some point where the both of you shared the same roof. Days is okay. Days, Dion Fraser, days, it's absolutely, absolutely okay. If you have questions in the meantime, just go ahead and share them in the column. I will put one disclaimer for this topic. This is one area where I encourage individuals to use an attorney. I absolutely encourage individuals to use an attorney because it's so it's like very complicated area of the law. And I've seen good cases, like I've seen individuals with good facts have somebody mess up their VAWA application. So I would encourage you to use an attorney for this area. So the residing together, it can definitely be days. It does not have to be a month. It does not have to be 2 months. It can be days. So I want you to keep that in mind. And again, for my VAWA individuals, one of the biggest piece of evidence that I can have from you is your declaration. Let's talk about the declaration. The declaration is that personal statement that your attorney is going to have you write. It is painful because we're going to ask you for a timeline of facts. We're going to ask you for everything that happened. In June of 2018, I was walking or I was on the 6th train when I met so-and-so, right? This is what happened. He proposed to me. He proposed at the Brooklyn Bridge. We then moved in together. And then I always say, give me evidence of the abuse. And I'll talk a little bit later about what that abuse should look like. But the declaration is a strong piece of evidence when we don't have a lot of the other paper stuff. So don't think because if you don't have enough evidence, then you cannot move forward with VAWA. Okay, keep that in mind. Sheila Baptiste Chase, if you're not making enough money, can somebody else help you file an affidavit of support? As for affidavits of support, yes, you can always have an affidavit of support. Keep in mind, as VAWA self-petition, that is not a requirement. So if you're a VAWA, you're petitioning for yourself, this is one area when you can work around your affidavit of support. That is a very good question. Remember, when you're filing an adjustment of status, you need a financial sponsor. With VAWA, the service certainly understands that you're sponsoring yourself. There's no husband, there's no wife. And keep in mind also that this is just not for married people. Guess who else can file VAWA applications? Parents or children. So if mom is living in the house and the child is abusing mom, mom can file a VAWA application so long as that child is a United States citizen or a green card holder. VAWA is VAWA. It is the Violence Against Women Act. VAWA. We just say VAWA. We don't say Violence Against Women Act. We just call it VAWA. So mom can file, a child can file. So it's parent, spouse, or child. Just remember, parents, spouse, or child. Any one of those individuals can file an application for VAWA. It is a self-petition, which is beautiful. I think one of the things VAWA does when I see my clients, it gives them freedom. It gives them freedom. And that is another misconception because you can file and the abuser doesn't even know you're filing because you can use a safe address. You know, I always say when you're filing an application with immigration, make sure everything is accurate. Make sure they have your accurate address. Make sure everything on file is accurate. Guess what? With VAWA, you can use a safe address. You don't have to use the address that you are residing in with the abuser. So think about it. You're living with your abuser, and he says he doesn't want to file the paperwork. Even though you've been married 1, 2, 3 years, he does not want to file the paperwork. You have a good faith marriage. You are living together, and he doesn't want to file the paperwork. You can file that paperwork yourself. You can stay married to him, file that paperwork yourself. Let all the paperwork go to your attorney's office. And I've done this before. All the paperwork go to your attorney office, or all the paperwork go to a safe place, maybe a sister. And it has to be somebody you trust. It should not be somebody who's going to tell the abuser what you're up to. So it has to be somebody that you trust. You can use a mailbox, you can use any safe address where your abuser will not know what's going on. You can go for your fingerprint, you can go for your interview and go right back home to that abuser house. The green card come in the mail and you have that green card, you can travel to wherever you want and he'll be wondering, where she go and me never found the paperwork for her. Because all of this, you do not have to be divorced. You do not have to be divorced. You do not have to move out of that home. You can still live there so long as you can prove the 4 things that we're talking about today. Remember number 1? What was number 1? Good faith marriage. Number 2, you must be living together. Number 3, good moral character. Let's talk about good moral character, but let me ask question number 2. Remember question number 1. Now question Dion Fraser says she questioning like she's a victim. No, Dion, you're questioning so you can share this information with women and men who don't know and who don't understand. Question number 2. And these are all from the naturalization quiz for all of those who submitted their naturalization application. What are 2 cabinet level positions? What are 2 cabinet level positions? Remember, we're playing for gift cards today. You're playing for Amazon gift cards. 2 people, you're going to win Amazon gift cards. So I've asked question number 1. We just asked question number 2. At 6:50 in about 18 minutes, we're going to ask you to post the answers. And then we will decide who wins the Amazon gift cards. But let's talk about good moral character. So good moral character for immigration purposes is like a deck of cards. So we know a deck of cards, I think there are 52 in the deck. If you leave, remember, please don't answer the questions yet. Keep the answers until 6:50. Keep their answers until 6:50. So good moral character is like your deck of cards. If you lose a couple cards from the deck, it's not too bad. If you lose half a deck of cards, then it starts to not look too good. So how do you lose good moral character? And you've heard us talk about good moral character with naturalization applications. And here it is again. We're talking about good moral character with VAWA applications. What this means is that you don't have any criminal history. So at no point in time, you haven't been arrested. So if you have 1 criminal history, maybe we take away a couple cards from the deck. You've been arrested 2 or 3 times, that deck starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Question number 2 is, what are 2 cabinet level positions? So the more criminal history you have, say you have a criminal history and you also have something like for theft, something that talks to your character. So you walked into Macy's, you stole a pair of jeans and you put in your purse and you walked out. Those are things that start taking away from your criminal history. For women and men, I don't want you to think just because you have an arrest, it means you have bad moral character. I have seen where husband and wife gets into a fight, or spouse and spouse, partner and partner gets into a fight. The police is called and the police arrests everybody. The police arrest victim and the police arrest perpetrator. Why? Because maybe blood was spewed from both. In cases like that, that arrest can be explained. Again, we talked about the declaration. So that arrest can be explained. So if my applicant has an arrest for domestic violence or something, but it was brought on by, the perpetrator, she's defending herself or he's defending himself, these are things that can be explained. All right. How long does it take to file for older person? I guess I don't understand your question. Tamika Rogers, rephrase the question. I don't understand it, love. I don't understand it. All right. So what's our proof? So we talked about good moral character, and keep in mind too, with good moral character, if it is that you have some kind of scratch, we can use affidavits, we can use letters from family and friends, we can use letters from your pastor, we can use documents to show that you have good moral character. It'll just be somebody writing and saying, I've known Diani for 2 years. She's honest, she's hardworking, she comes to church on Sunday. So those are things that we can do to show that you do have good moral character. So keep that in mind. The last thing you'll have to show is if you have to prove battery or extreme cruelty. And this is another thing a lot of victims think: if I am unable to prove that he hit me or punched me, then I can't file a VAWA application. That is not the case. So it's either or. So battery, that's easy. He punched me, he shoved my head in the dresser, he locked my hand in the car door. That's easy to prove, right? You'll have pictures that you'd have taken with your cell phone. You'll also have maybe a police report where the police came to your residence and they wrote up a police report. So that's good. The other part that gets challenging and that I have to convince a lot of individuals of is extreme cruelty. Boy, where's Lacey? We're missing Lacey J today. Lacey J will be back. She'll be back. I'll send out a signal for Lacey J. We can't find Lacey J. But when we're talking about extreme cruelty, and domestic violence advocates will sum this up for you, it can be emotional, it can be financial, it can be sexual abuse, it can be any one of those. Emotional meaning the threats I talked about earlier. Oh, I'm going to call immigration. That's emotional. It can be sexual. And it can go sexual both ways, where one person is being abused sexually. And it can be financial, where the person has, locked down the bank account. You cannot get anything out of the bank account. It can be that way too, right? So it can be emotional. It can be physical. Physical is easy. It can be financial. It can be where you take the person's documents, like the US citizen or the lawful permanent resident. They have taken your traveling documents. So even if you're here undocumented, no one should be holding on to your passport. So in the case of this, they have taken your travel documents. So you have no travel documents, right? So that is another way that can be abused as well. And Dion Fraser says needing sex 21 times a month. That can be abuse. If you don't want to have sex 21 times a month, that can definitely be abuse. So keep that in mind. So battery or extreme cruelty. Some of the misconceptions I want to point out too is that, remember, your spouse or the partner does not need to know that you're filing this application. We will not need their signature on any documents at all. We won't need their signature. All right. I always say get proof they're a US citizen. If you have your spouse's birth paper or that naturalization card certificate, take a picture of it and keep it just in case. It's kind of like your insurance policy. Another misconception is that you must be in the United States to apply. You do not need to be in the United States to apply for VAWA. So for example, you were living here. Hey, Reginald, thank you for joining us. For those of you that are joining us, we're talking about VAWA applications for victims of abuse. It's Domestic Awareness Month, and we want to get this information out there. We're asking 3 questions. We've already asked 2, so we only have 1 more question. I'll read that question in a couple of minutes, and then 6:50, we'll have to do the answers for those questions. And anybody's eligible to answer, but just don't write your answers. All right, so you do not have to be in the United States to apply for VAWA. You do not have to be here to apply. For example, you were living here in the United States, you're undocumented, and you were being abused, so you flee to your home country, we can continue that VAWA application, because the reason you departed was because of the abuse. So don't think you have to physically be here in order to apply. Again, you don't even have to move out of your home. If you're living with the husband or the wife, the abuser, you can stay living together and file that green card. And I also want to remind people, there does not have to be any evidence of physical abuse. One of my clients that I had years ago was extreme weight loss. There was so much abuse that he or she, I don't want to give away any hints, he or she ended up losing a lot of weight. So that was considered abuse, because a lot of it was the threats, a lot of it was not providing the documents, not signing off on the documents in order for that person to be able to process their documents. So that is also abuse. Another misconception too is children. If you have children, minors under 21, and they're unmarried and they're living here with you and you're filing a VAWA application, they can be included as well. All right, keep that in mind. I want to talk to you about evidence. You don't need a lot of evidence in order to file a VAWA application. I've found the best thing I can do is a well-written declaration, a timeline, and that kind of sums up the level of the abuse. Question number three is, if the president or the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? Don't write your answers, but listen. If the president or vice president can no longer serve, who becomes the president? So we've asked 3 questions from the naturalization application. These are questions that if anybody submitted their application in the last couple of weeks and you're getting ready to do your interview, or you're getting ready to study for your civics question, these are taken from uscis.gov, and those are the questions that are there. So I just asked 3 of them today. At 6:50, we will ask you to post all 3 answers. You have to post all 3 in your response, the answers to the 3 questions we asked, and then you'll be eligible for 1 of our 2 Amazon gift cards. So we've talked about the eligibility for VAWA. We talked about the documentation. We've talked about the documentation. We've talked about the documentation. We've talked about what it looks like. So now that you've decided you have a good VAWA application, you are in a good faith marriage, you are living together, you have good moral character, you suffered some kind of abuse, whether it's physical, battery or extreme cruelty. Battery, physical, extreme cruelty, those are the emotional, the financial. The next thing you need to do is consult with an immigration law attorney. This is not one area where you want to take on by yourself. So you've consulted, and then you're going to mail your application. The beautiful thing, again, like I said about this application and why I love it so much, you're not depending on anybody for a signature. I've seen oftentimes people are like, oh, I got to wait for my husband to sign the application. Oh, I got to wait for my wife to sign it, because it just depends what's going on in the marriage. It depends what's going on in the marriage that they have to be waiting for the other person to sign the application. Not in the case of VAWA. You sign that application yourself. You are eligible for a fee waiver. That is something to also keep in mind. You are eligible for a fee waiver. Another neat thing about VAWA is if you entered the country illegally, So you came up through the border and you were not inspected. If you enter the country illegally, VAWA can help you as well. VAWA is a good means because normally you would need a waiver. You'd have to go back to your home country. It gets super complicated. Not with VAWA. Not with VAWA. With VAWA, even if you entered the country, the Violence Against Women Act, even if you enter the country unlawfully, you're still eligible to file for VAWA. So once you put your application together, you've written a really nice declaration documenting your abuse, which sometimes can be painful. Then you submit. Once you submit your application, you will get a receipt notice and you'll also be fingerprinted. As part of this process, we're also going to apply for a work authorization on your behalf. We'll apply for that on your behalf. And this is really neat because then this gets you into the workforce, you start working, and this kind of helps to offset some of the abuse. I've seen where women gain their wings because now they can move out because they've put themselves in a really, really good position in order to in good financial position. Now they can get their own apartment. They can get a job because they get their work authorization card. Before the work authorization comes, the service will issue what we call a Prima Facie determination. In other words, it's a big word to say your case look good, meaning you've met all the elements. It's not an approval. It is not an approval. Right? It's not an approval. It is just to say you've submitted everything. The declaration looks good. The evidence look good. They call it a prima facie determination. They do this because the processing times for VAWA is so long. It takes a really, really long time in order to process a VAWA application. Years. I've had clients that are waiting since 2016 because there's only limited numbers of green cards available in this category. It's only limited. Okay. So that is why you'll get the work authorization first, and then the case just kind of moves along. And I doubt you'll get a response on your I-360, the form that you used to file within 12 months. It's just not going to happen. What's going to happen is you'll file your application, you'll get your prima facie determination, then you file for your work authorization. Each year, I encourage you to keep renewing your work authorization. Just keep renewing it until you get that, whether it's an approval or you get a request for evidence. It depends on what the service needs. They will reach out to you and let you know. It is 6:49. 3 questions that were asked. What is the supreme law of the land? What are 2 cabinet level positions? And if the vice president or the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? Those were the 3 questions that were asked. For those of you that are just joining us today, we covered VAWA. You have to answer all 3 in order to get the gift card. So all 3 questions must be answered in order to get the gift card. If you are just joining us, thank you for joining. We are covering the Violence Against Women Act today. It is one piece of legislation that protects victims of domestic violence or any kind of abuse. Keep in mind that you must be married to a U.S. citizen or be or a green card holder, or you must be the spouse of a green card. And I'm asking. Oh, I see the answers are coming in. I'll scroll back up to make sure we'll know who win, and we'll announce the winners in a little bit. But keep in mind, you must be married to a U.S. citizen, or a lawful permanent resident. You must have a good faith marriage. You must have resided together at some point in time, and you must have good moral character, and you must prove battery or extreme cruelty. We're going to take our last quick break, and then that will give me an opportunity to look at the notes and see who won the Amazon gift cards. And when you come back, we'll wrap it up for today. For those of you that are watching, Junior sends his regards. I'm holding it down for myself and Junior, but we'll go back. Maybe Dion Fraser, you can be the judge and tell me who posts first, but I'll go back and see who posts first and who wins. Let's take a quick break so I can see that. Thanks all for watching.
Hey, I got some good news for you. Looking for a passionate immigration lawyer with experience that spans over 2 decades? Someone trusted that served immigrant families just like yours? Well, look no more. Now you can benefit from her personal and professional experience. Diane Winter Funde. Schedule a consultation now and get assistance with your immigration journey. Specialize in adjustment of status, B1 business visa, B2 visitors visa, consular processing, deportation defense, naturalization, and more. Give us a call today at 813-815-3529. That's 813-815-3529 or online at winterimmigration.com. Attorney Diane Winter Funde, law done differently.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us as we wrap up today. Lord, everybody's really good about answering these questions. So if you are joining us at the top of the hour, I said I was going to ask 3 questions. 3 questions I was going to ask as to it pertains to the naturalization application. And the 3 questions were, what is the supreme law of the land? What are 2 cabinet level positions? And if the president or vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? So we see Miss Lydia James. She said the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Defense are 2 cabinet positions. I feel like I should have an auditor. The president pro tempore becomes a president if the president or vice president can no longer serve, then the Speaker of the House. So I think that is a correct answer. Miss Lydia James, you're winner number 1. Miss Lydia James, you're winner number 1. And we're going in order of how the answers were posted. So even if you have the correct answers, it's in order. And the second person to post, let's read their answer. Samantha Fraser says the Constitution, that is the supreme law of the land. That is correct. The Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of Health and Human Services, that is correct. The question was, what are 2 cabinet level positions? She got that correct. And if the president can no longer serve, who becomes president? She said the Speaker of the House. So congratulations to Miss Lydia James and Miss Samantha Fraser. They both won 2 Amazon gift cards. So congratulations to the both of you. I will work with our team here at Ridealong on how to get your gift cards to you, and we'll do so in short order. Congrats, Miss Lydia James. Congrats again, Samantha Fraser. I want to see if there's any questions that I might have missed about VAWA. Yep, everybody agrees with me. It was Michael Schultz says provide state law, defense and energy Speaker of the House. So Michael, or is it Michelle? That answer is incorrect, Michelle. The first part, I get the first part wrong. So congratulations to Lydia James. Congratulations to Miss Samantha Fraser. I wanted to see before we closed if we had any questions that I might have missed as it pertains to today's discussion. Let me see. I don't think I missed any questions today, which is good, because sometimes I do miss question. Yeah, I see Tamika Rogers say it's very sad. Women especially have to put up with that domestic violence. I absolutely agree. When you say Junior has a conflict, please, he was not a part of a fight. All right, so I don't think I missed any questions. So just to recap, today we talked about the Violence Against Women Act. We talked about who can file, who can petition, and remember, parents, spouse, or child, anybody, so long as you've been married to a United States citizen or a lawful permanent resident. One of the things I think I failed to mention too was that this area is ripe for a fee waiver. So if you're not in a position to pay those immigration filing fees, this is a good area to file, to do a fee waiver for. This is an extremely good area to do a fee waiver for. All the information that I provided to you today is at your fingertips at uscis.gov. uscis.gov. Mavis Joseph said, everybody must obey and follow the law. No, that part is wrong. It's a supreme law of the land, is a constitution. She did get the other two pieces correct. She got the other two questions correct. Yes, all the information that I talked about today is available to you on uscis.gov. Remember that uscis.gov, you'll have the form that you need to fill out. I don't like to send people off. Like with naturalization, I like to say, I think if you have no red flags, you can complete a naturalization application by yourself. For VAWA applications, I think this is an area where you need to sit down with an attorney and come up with a strategy. You have to come up with a strategy because VAWA is like one of those areas that's just filled with landmines. So it's important that you come up with a strategy for your application. For those of you that want to get in touch with me, my telephone number, 813-815-3529. I'll repeat that, 813-815-3529. So that is a good number to contact us. And I want to remind everybody to be safe as you go through with everything that's going on with Corona. Please remember to be safe. Put those masks on. If you don't have to travel to your home country, you don't need to go unless it's an emergency and you need to travel, or it's an emergency and you need to get out of your home. I know here in the state of Florida, we just reopened, and I started out the top of the hour by talking about Grenada reopening. So Grenada has reopened. Jamaica is changing some of their travel restrictions. And we saw here in Florida when we reopened last week. And when I say reopened, I mean restaurants are at 100% capacity. Supermarkets, everything is just open. Everything is open. But that does not mean that we should just take our mask off and go on out. I think we still have to be responsible. If we're going to take that flight to Grenada, follow the requirements that the government has laid out for you. Similar to Jamaica, follow those requirements and don't just get on a plane because you can get on a plane. If you do, remember to absolutely play it safe. Join us again tomorrow evening where Junior will be back with a great topic for us. So we're going to wrap up now. It's 6:59. I'm done on time. I cannot believe it. 6:59. So we're going to end today. And I always say to my friends, until next time, walk good. And thank you for joining us.
Hey, I got some good news for you. Looking for a passionate immigration lawyer with experience that spans over 2 decades? Someone trusted that served immigrant families just like yours? Well, look no more. Now you can benefit from her personal and professional experience. Diane Winter Funding. Schedule a consultation now and get assistance with your immigration journey. Specialize in adjustment of status, B1 business visa, B2 visitor's visa, consular processing, deportation defense, naturalization, and more. Give us a call today at 813-815-3529. That's 813-815-3529 or online at winterimmigration.com. Attorney Diane Winter Funday, law done differently.